Hi, welcome back to Reality Check, podcast for community, conversation, and coffee. Today we're excited to come back just to continue our conversation from last week about Katrina, just to talk about that and just issues that the community are asking questions about, such as Donald Trump and what he's doing, and Katrina. So we want to just continue to talk about that, Andrew. You know we stopped at last week when we was talking about Katrina. But I think we had got up to where our came in when we came in to help families at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of right after when the beginning of when the Road Home program started. Of course, the disaster Katrina itself was over, but then there was the disaster after the disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of that had to do with trying to get people uh, reimbursed for their property here, that was here, and also trying to get people to come back home because
they was taking the property without giving them notice.
Right.
They was in the process of taking family property, and the reason we know that is because we did the research. We created a task force called the Road Home Action Network Team, and that task force was our main business was to find those people who lived here and who had property was here, what had property here and was losing it to the road home, and they didn't know anything about it. So once we found out, we started trying to find the people to figure out where they are and how do we get to them and how do we organize to let them know what's going on. And that's how we got started with, and we call it RAN, huh?
Yeah.
And it's been 20 years, so it's kind of fading away.
Right. It's been
like
a minute.
You saying you and can do. You remember because it's all just not there.
And it I said and I thought about it for a little bit because, there were some things that was going on that had you been listening to us on WBOK, which we did for, a couple of years. But we got people to tune in, and I'm saying for our section, WBOK is a black radio talk station and popular amongst people in New Orleans. But if you didn't live in New Orleans, if you were living in other places, even
here, that you didn't know anything about.
Yeah, exactly.
But with families who lived here and was dispersed other places, they knew about it, but they may have not had access to
the radio station.
So that's why we had to find other ways of giving attention to people. And we did, whatever those ways was, we found many ways to reach families. We kind of like organized groups. We looked for organizations that had been dispersed. We looked for them and where they was located. And we was able to find the Institute because the Institute had been, they was located to Texas.
The People Institute.
The People Institute. And they were still working. So we was able to get information from them of other people. And other people gave us information of other people, and they started giving the number to other people, so it just caught on like wildfire.
Yes.
Like it went viral, I'll say. And we was able to get, and people were waiting for us to come on the radio every Thursday morning. They knew we was coming on, and we had this song that would bring us on. It was called A Long Way From Home. And it was.
We did that, we did that for a while.
Yeah, it was a popular song, so we used that song to bring us in every morning. And when people heard that song, they knew the road home people are coming on. And they knew they could get information from us, the truth information from us, about what's going on with their property, who they need to talk to, and what they need to do. And we had that information. And we gave that information. We was able to pull people back together, bring people home, and fight this system,
Mm-hmm.
local, state, and federal.
Yeah. And you know the ironic thing, when Road Home, well, let me say this first, but you remember you did the TV program, which was about things going on in the city, and you have been doing that for years.
Mm-hmm.
But we were also able to use that, the TV program, and it was the welfare rights,
Mm-hmm.
but it was still reality check.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So reality check turned over into radio.
Mm-hmm.
But through our research, we were finding out things that, when the money did started coming, these big contracts went out to folks who were making millions and millions of dollars. And what we found was that they even had a title search program in it to check on people's property. Now, because a lot of families, especially here in the Lower Ninth Ward, St. Bernard, and I guess almost anywhere, that these properties actually didn't have a name to them. Because it was grandma before
Lost
grandma.
title.
Yeah, lost titles, no, and there were actually no title searches, and to get the thing straight. And they hired this company. I'm trying to, I'm gonna say the company acted as a disaster pimp, and they went around and they were getting these people property. People didn't know because some of the properties were, damaged so bad. But it was now, you come to where uh, 3 or 4 the kids who followed the parents and the grandparents, they all own the property. It was all over.
Mm-hmm.
So they, when the program started, they came in and they got as much of that property as they can legally get, legally or illegally. So when we discovered that that was going on, we tried to get in touch with somebody named Larry Oney. You remember Larry?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I remember that.
And he was the one who was doing. Yeah, he was the one who was doing the title search. His company was doing the title searches, and we tried to contact him. And went to his office, but we could never find him. Never find him. So
out of 2.5 years of
yeah,
search,
we still ain't found him.
Still haven't found this man.
So, but that gave them, I guess, whatever he knew or whatever they knew, gave them the right to like take these people's property and not be compensated or not legally doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So we put that information out there. But
and lots of people came forward after they received that information.
Right, exactly.
And they came forward to save their property.
They did. Mm-hmm. They actually did. And
we started holding meetings all over the city in different areas. We started in the community and our churches. Mm-hmm. And we have meetings with the churches in different areas. And I remember we had a nice, big, large one at Trinity Baptist Church and at Christian Mission Baptist Church.
People standing outside the church.
Wanted to get in for the meetings. Mm-hmm. And because people wanted their homes back, they had gotten some monies, but not enough money to repair their homes. And so then they went off and they applied. They came out with this, they wanted to rebuild, to elevate, elevation money.
Yeah, they came out with the elevation money. But but they were specific, or they were telling us that they were specific in this is the money you use for elevation.
Right.
To raise your house.
It's not for repair.
It's not for well, but people were like, well, what am I raise my house for? And I ain't got no house.
Yeah.
You know?
So I need to repair it.
And no money to repair it.
So having that community conversation with people, we realized you really do need to have a house to elevate. And the elevation was like the contractor. It was benefited the contractors of the elevation program, not the homeowners themselves.
No.
Because the elevation company gets their money right off the top. Whether you get your house completed, elevated or not. And that was a way to help the city to sure enough own your house. So now you done spent this money to renovate your house, and it's not elevated. And that's not what we gave it to you. Because we was specific when we said what you was giving me this money for. We said it's for elevation. And they can't try to come back to tell us that. And so we hit them with elevate what?
Yeah, exactly.
And so they had to give in, what I mean? You got to allow for that money that people use for elevation to get money for repairs. And so later on, we finally got that ruling where that money could be used for repairs, as long as they could show receipts for the repair. And then we found out that people really didn't have those receipts to show, and we had to go back to fight to make sure that they didn't have to use those receipts. That we eliminated the asking for the receipts, and we did that too. But it just.
But you know why the disaster pimping kept coming,
Really
and I say this because, and this was supposed to be after we got the residents of New Orleans got the elevation money. The next thing you know, they were in what was called the collection part of it. And this is if you didn't use the road home money to rebuild. Now we were specific with what you just got through saying with the
elevation money.
With the elevation money, that people were using their money to finish their houses. So the recapture program come in, and
that's what it was.
And that's recaptured this money that
people who had used that money
to
elevation money
to fix their houses,
and didn't pay it to the contractors who were supposed to get it. And it didn't happen that way, so somebody didn't get paid. And they tried to hold the victim
responsible. Yeah.
And we couldn't allow that to happen. So we continued to dig in, until they finally created what they call a road home subcommittee. And every Monday night they would hold their meetings in the city to come in and try to give us update with what's happening with the road home program. And each time our information was different from theirs. It's just like Donald Trump saying, no. We did more in what they reported, the CDC reported, so they gotta go. Well, we knew that we had done had more different information with that because we had heard from the people, and they wanted to just do it that way, but we wouldn't allow it to happen. So they fought for the people that way, and we realized that we had power. It was the power of the people who got this program this far.
Because when you see the people, you can't continue to spew the lies. And the lies about the program was, well, people are getting money. And they weren't. They were. First of all, they weren't even filing the people's road home cases. So, because as we got from the TV, they were throwing the people's files in an open room, not even going into a cabinet.
And to make sure, Andrew, remember to make sure that they had the right to steal people's property. They would take them little checks that the people had to have and put them in mailboxes where there was no operation going on, no mailman passing in, sticking checks in the mailbox saying, I paid you off for this house. I gave you this $250,000, this $250. So you're paid off. The house no longer yours.
Yeah, yeah,
It was sad.
and before that, a lot of people. One of the things you got to remember is when they did send money to the people had to take that money and give it to the mortgage company.
Right.
And the mortgage company in turn said,
"Well, if bears out, or if it's not,
if
we
it's
paid. Not enough, we just take
Yeah.
the whole check."
Yeah, and they did.
But the mortgage company took their monies out.
They took their money out, and I don't know of any that ever gave money back to the homeowner. Because that's when we started working with the Road Home program, and everybody that I talked to, it was like, well, I sent my money to the mortgage company. They were supposed to send me some money back to start repairs on the house. But the mortgage company kept those. Right. And as a matter of fact, they wouldn't even allow the people to cash the checks. The people had to send it to the mortgage company. Right. But the people were held responsible for it.
Yeah, and there was no place for the people to go in and get the checks. Remember, they were sending it to their mailbox.
Yeah, in a lot of cases.
Addresses. So people didn't have a way. So finally, we got an office here in the city. 2 or 3 offices in the city to distribute those funds. But prior to that, everything was held in Baton Rouge.
Yeah. So there was a lot of problems that was going on even in that phase of Katrina. Because people were still homeless. People were still, sleeping wherever they friends, neighbors, relatives, wherever they could for the people that was here. And like I said, it was just, but other people were getting paid. But these were contractors. These were people who was associated with running the Road Home program.
They had all this contractor was our state contractors. They wouldn't allow for us to use our own contractors here in the state. And we had to fight to have that right.
Right. And even on top of that, the contractors were ripping people off. They were ripping off, whether they were local from out of town.
You could not find them. You don't know where they are. They gone.
Exactly. Because they're gone. They left and went back out of town.
That's right.
So after watching, and I watched when the levees broke this weekend because I wanted to make me remember what all was going on, because I've seen several documentaries regarding to Katrina. But we can say as of today, you come back here and in Gentilly and you go into Ninth Ward and they got empty spaces. That federal money went into somebody's pocket. Right. Because they got too many lots. They got too many empty lots.
Yes.
And then, there's still over about 150,000 people who've not come back to New Orleans.
And they was trying to buy the property up so fast and bad until we had to try to put together a law that said the houses next door, the people next door had the first right to buy the property next door
to them,
so that families wouldn't lose property, and all that kind of stuff. But they was coming in, baby. They were like buzzers.
Yeah. Right. And this is what a gentrification part of, New Orleans is back to normal because they're back to their normal population. But there were 450,000 people in this city when Katrina hit. We went down to about 180, not even considered a city anymore. So did they bring all of them people back? No. They sold those properties to people who originally didn't live in those properties, and that was the gentrification part of it.
And then when Ray Nagin made this statement about a chocolate city,
that New Orleans will be a chocolate
city, they were determined to make sure this would no longer be a chocolate city, and they went to work to make sure that it didn't.
And watching that Vine, I heard him say, when he said that, the people were pissed at him, his constituents, who a lot of them were probably white. And when he said that, boy, he went downhill. They threw him under the bus for everything.
He said something against the powers to be.
The powers to be.
right.
And they pretty much, and I'll say this, I don't live in the city, but they pretty much concocted a way to get Renee and put in jail.
Sure enough. Sure
That's just my feelings.
And when you can read between lines and your eyes are now open, you can see all this stuff. You can see what's going on and read between the lines and know what it is.
This happened when we had a Republican president in George Bush.
Yes.
I'm gonna call them what I just called them earlier.
Yeah.
The Republicans, kind of like the Ku Klux Klan, but they just here, they done jumped ahead in the future, because that's what we've seen out of our present in people now,
Now president.
Yeah, and he, and he's being backed by Republicans,
Right.
plans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just it. This is the life that they have done to try to set poor people. I'm not just going to say black people, but you're not considered part of what their ideology is. You're not part of that if you're white and poor. You're just like the rest of them. This is why we got the immigrants thing going on, who a lot of them supported Trump. I was like, I even said to him, he gonna, why y'all voting for him? He gonna put y'all in jail and get y'all out of here. But somehow they got to that point where, I guess trying to make us feel bad. Trump, we for Trump. Trump gonna look out for us. You ain't white. You ain't white.
He told them that.
Yeah. He told them that.
They didn't
Yeah.
understand racism, but
Yeah.
I bet they do now. They understand it now. We couldn't tell them that, but they understand it now.
And we knew way before Katrina, because we came up through those eras, I came up through Jim Crow, I knew all of that. So they just got here and they were like, oh, we're going to live better than y'all. No, you're not.
Right.
Y'all going to be second class citizens like we were.
What happened in that case is that's when we stopped passing down information, telling the truth about us.
Mm-hmm.
We stopped telling the truth and trying to chase acceptance to be like them. So, and to be like them, we have to deny our own history. If you never knew it, it's certainly you're not going to own up to it, So.
Right. And this is why they don't want it to be taught now.
That's right.
Because they don't want our children, even us. There's a lot of history, that I discovered that I just did.
And it's like whenever they don't want you to know something and really, really don't want you to know, that's just how bad you should want to know it.
Exactly.
It's just like they don't want to tell you the truth about history. Why?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you should want to know the truth about history.
Right.
And it'll blow your mind.
Right.
And even like with Donald Trump and the Epstein file.
They don't want you to know.
He don't want you to know what's in that file, because something is in that file that's going to take away some of their power. Exactly. They're all about power. It's going to take away some of their power, and they just don't want it out there. And they're going to do whatever they can do to keep it from happening.
Right. But I say this: if he's working so hard, or doing all of his distraction things now, there has to be something there. And one of the things,
there's no there, but it is there.
But one of the things we do know was, Epstein was a pedophile, because he was pimping 14-year-old girls.
14 through 16. Once they made 17, that's when he would release them out, because they was too old.
And I don't know what's there, but Trump was close to this guy.
An 8 by 10 picture.
Yeah. Oh, not just, yeah, not just, oh, video coming up everywhere. And he talked about how great this guy was. So I have to, but I'm going to just put it out there. I have to believe that Trump was messing with young women.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then people will come to the.
They had 11 of them that spoke.
Yeah.
And that 11 was, the ages was between 12 and 16 years old,
right,
when they was introduced to this man.
Yeah.
And then they had to bring in other children their age once they got in, because he promised them the world. And Elena Maxwell promised those children that their life was going to be changed. They had a career there, like Jeff was going to help them with so much, I mean, that's a young girl's dream.
That's right.
That's a young girl's dream.
Especially when they can give them power.
Yes.
When they can give them power and money.
Yes.
And Trump did that. Well, he did that. He's guilty of that. He's guilty of that. Yeah. We already know that.
And one girl, she had a sick mom and sister, and she wanted to help them get through school, and wanted to help her mom get her sister through school. So she went after another young girl, told her all about a man she could make all this money for by just giving him a massage.
Right.
Like, but you know what's so good about what the end results that came out of that press conference to me is that they pressing on, asking for that the open of the file, the Epstein file, and they're asking for the release the name. And if they don't, they're gonna make their own list. They're gonna make their own list. They said we know who they are and we have their names, so they can make their own list. And guess what? And Marjorie Taylor Greene said that if they don't give that list, she gonna work with those clients.
Yeah, exactly.
And make sure that she get a list. And when she gets the list, she gonna walk it through the Congress. So that's pretty heavy. That's powerful right there.
Right. Exactly.
And so I'm looking forward to seeing it, me.
Well, I am too, Vi, for the simple reason that when you can split the Republic clans, when you can split them and some of them take that road to, okay, well, we got to do what's right, not what our king wants, not what, the man in charge who thinks he knows everything and owns everything. But
that's that power that he had.
Yeah.
False power.
And a lot of this power, but a lot of it in America is mostly old white men that own that power, who has graduated through the civil rights, not through even if you go back to the Civil War, because people are like, oh, Lincoln freed the slaves. Lincoln had no choice.
He sure didn't.
Because they kept saying in order for us, because they were losing to the Confederate Army. And he said, because they had about 12 million Africans in this, during slavery. And they said, well, let's let the slaves fight. They can be, slaves wanting freedom.
Yeah, they're rebellion.
But if we don't let them do this, they're going to keep killing white people. Because that's the whole purpose. The abolitionists and all of those folks, the reason that the Emancipation Proclamation was wrote to free folks, because black folks back then, they had a whole lot of us, and we're like, you ain't gonna free us, we gonna kill y'all.
Yeah.
And that's what was going on.
And so Abraham Lincoln decided that, let me help my white people
to live.
Yes. And that's what we fail to understand.
And look,
it's like the Democrats. The reason why they haven't signed off on an Epstein file, because these are mainly white. Democrats are white people.
Yeah.
And and you don't know how many of them
might be involved. Might be involved.
That's right.
So, there's a lot. And we've been stretched it to a very long thing from the road home to.
I know. And it's time to go. Time fast. It was a good hour or 30 minutes I would have. But it was time well spent.
Yeah.
We did talk about some of the stuff, and maybe we'll talk again about it next week. Or maybe we might end and start talking about something else. What's taking place, but it's a community conversation.
Yeah. But we wanted to let people know, with all of the celebrations and all of the things that was going on to Katrina, there's still a lot of people that's not back home, who land was taken away from. When I say taken, they sold it. Well, they didn't have an option. When you got an option where you sell, or if you don't sell, you don't get no money. You sell.
Andrew, our producer, telling us that we gotta go. Our time is up. So we thank y'all so much for listening, and hope that you're joining in with us. Like I say, you can get in touch with us at 504-338-9205. Again, that's 504-338-9205. Call us and let us know what you think about this show, and we can improve ourselves. Okay?
Right.
It's all about progress.
From feedback.
Yeah. What's that feedback? See you next time.
Goodbye, everyone.